Hopefully, through the magic of the internet, this is all working. I hope.
Your faith is not going to be rewarded, but good luck.
I don't know.
Delicious.
Drinking a little whiskey.
Yes. I wish. Actually, could I?
You did. It is Friday. All right. Yep. Yep.
No, that's right.
Anybody who's watching right now is probably very, well, what the hell was that? Well, let's just hope the power doesn't go out.
What could go wrong?
You know. Maybe it could just zap me through the floor. That would just end this.
Brad, did you call my wife to see what shirt I was wearing today, or what? You probably got dressed before I did. It doesn't matter. I don't know.
Welcome back, everybody, to a live episode of First Ring Daily. Today's episode is brought to you by Microsoft 365, and apparently, as Paul likes to crack a joke right before we start, matching shirts, but you can find links down below. We'll have more on that in a minute.
I have a child.
You know, Paul, I have 3 colored shirts, basically blue, gray, and like white. So you got about 33% chance.
I'm just hitting right.
Like,
right. It's weird because I have probably maybe 4 different colored shirts, but only one of them is the same as your colors. And that is the one we're wearing today.
So what's that? Like a 1 in 7 chance? That's
I'm not going to even try to do that
14%,
math.
something like that? 1 divided by 7. 14.28. Who's doing math on this side? This guy.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Paul, what are the words, I think it's love from, mean to you?
Actually, you know what that reminds me of?
What?
When Microsoft came up with the Zune, what did it say on the back?
Oh, God. Was it?
It said, with love from Seattle.
Yep.
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 Also made in China.
But where was it designed, Paul? Where was it designed?
Well, first it was designed in Cupertino, and then Microsoft made small modifications. So it's kind of the etymology of that. It's a little confusing.
Well, and then they colored it brown because that would have.
Because that was a color that Apple curiously did not use.
Yeah, they took it right out of the 70s. They took it out of the color.
I kind of like the brown Zune, actually.
You would.
Yeah.
You would.
Okay. Fair enough.
But to those who do not understand the innuendos and things we were beating around the Cupertino bush, Mr. Sir Johnny Ive is leaving Apple. Although I think he probably left a while ago. I mean, he's still an employee to this day, and he's phasing it out. But there had been rumors for a long time that he wanted to move back to England, or that he wanted to leave Apple, and that they probably just cut him a couple $1 billion on the payroll or whatever it is they pay him.
I'm going to offer up a competing theory. I actually believe he was not forced out, but it was kind of a mutual thing. Like, it's time,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of his recent designs have gone over very well.
What do you mean? The iPhone 4 was great, and then we've had.
Well, actually, the iPhone 4 was Steve Jobs' fault, but
I thought the design of the iPhone 4 was great, but
beautiful, right? Except if you want to actually send and receive calls, it kind of problem.
It was form over function, absolutely. Like, quite literally, because it was great to look at.
They added the word attenuation to all of our dictionaries. I mean, nice. No, I don't. I'm referring more to things like the MacBook keyboard, the previous Mac Pro design. I think one of the biggest mistakes Apple made, and I distinctly remember when they were talking about this, was they let Johnny Ive take over software design.
Yes,
and that's when iOS 7 happened. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
you and I, it's coincidental, but you and I were just talking about this, and you were saying how you don't really like dark mode on phones or PCs, whatever. And I was like, listen, You got to, just give it a shot because I think the dark mode is part of a refutation of that design language that started with iOS 7, which is like this bright, like super bright interface, like
white space. I mean, that's
nonsensical color choices like purples and pinks and just really weird. And I think that was Apple's jump the shark moment. It's like this guy had a rapport with Steve Jobs that I think was the secret to their success. And I think what we're seeing after Jobs is dead is that unfettered and without someone on the other end pushing back and throwing off different ideas, you see what kind of happens. And I think in isolation, someone like Johnny Ives is not the miracle that was Jobs plus Ives.
Yeah, there was a lot of things going out there around some of the differences between I was going to say Steve Cook. That would be a nice butchering of Tim Cook. Steve Jobs. Is that Steve Jobs, and the man was not without faults, most notably medical knowledge.
Jeez.
But he was known to like his ruling style was based on emotion and conviction, where a lot of people say Tim Cook is based a lot on numbers. Like he's a numbers guy. He looks at things, and that's kind of how he makes his decision. I bet he loves A/B testing. Steve Jobs was like totally against that. He's like, you show me two things, we pick one, and that's it, and we're not deviating. And I bet there was some of that.
I think that even Jobs himself. I mean, Jobs without Ives was a failure. By the way. There was, maybe the Ives plus Jobs thing doesn't get enough press. Everyone is so busy iconizing and lionizing or whatever the word is, idolizing Steve Jobs. I mean, I think it might have been the combination of those two guys that made all those things work. Whatever. But you're right. Yeah, he had that. Certainly, there was a special something to Steve Jobs that no one else has. But listen, I've written a lot about this over the past couple of years. All of the hardware problems at Apple. Something's wrong,
Yeah, their keyboards.
Okay, that wasn't. I didn't mean it that explicitly, but yes.
Like you can literally touch the problem. It's for most people, it's right in front of them.
Yeah.
There was.
It's like you had one job to do, keyboard,
and you didn't do it.
Yeah.
It's still. They would win a lot of fans if they did two things. One, they came out finally admitted that they had a keyboard problem. And then the second phrase of that would be, we're bringing back the 2012 keyboard style.
So I actually expect that to happen. And I don't think they're not gonna say it like that. Apple, they've apologized a couple times. It's not a big part of the Apple playbook, but regardless of how they announce it, I think there will be a next generation keyboard design, and it will be the last generation keyboard is what it is.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, that per my understanding of how they built the current one, they can't just update the current one to have that. Right. It's going to have to be a whole new MacBook Pro, right?
That's right.
They can't just say, oh, we're just going to swap. Like, it doesn't work like that, because they'd have to add some thickness, because then the screen would be touching and all that good stuff. But anyways, if you want Sir Johnny Ive to design something for you, now it's at least a possibility.
I hear he makes really nice Christmas trees.
Yes, he and Mark. Is it Newsrom or Mark, the other guy, is joining him too? Like, these guys have been buddies for a long time.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, he's joining Love Form or whatever it is. Love From. That is a very.
Just retire, for crying out loud. You don't need any money.
No, like, these people aren't doing these things for money.
What are you doing? Really? Then why are you starting a company? Like, what's the point?
I mean, like, what else would you go do? Like, I mean,
travel. I don't know. See a family.
I suspect that he's already done a lot of that. I mean, I think Bloomberg.
Yeah, no,
said
it's
that
true. It's fair to say it does seem like he kind of checked out there.
I think Bloomberg wrote up that he, not too long ago, Mark Gurman tweeted out that he was only coming to the office like twice a week or something. So it's not like, I suspect maybe his golf game might have been. He should choose golf clubs. I would buy those maybe. They're not going to help my game, but I'm good at spending money on things that don't help my golf game anyways.
Oh, you should get a Mac Pro then.
A fool and his money are easily separated on golf balls, not.
Is that's what the sign at the Apple Store should say, right in the back? It should just be like, a fool and his money are easily separated. And it's like right over the register that they don't actually have anymore.
Yeah, that's They could just have it like burned into all the wood tables on the side.
First iPhone, when I bought that thing at the Apple store in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts in 2007, they were using Windows CE handhelds.
Wow.
That didn't last long, but
yeah, a lot of places now use the Apple stuff. I got to tell you, I'm still tempted by an iPad Pro, and I don't even know why. There's no logic. I'm not going to buy one. First off, I looked at the one I'd actually want, and it was like $1,400. I was like,
I know. When you price them out, you're like,
like if it was $700,
I know.
I would probably, I'd probably get one, but $1,400 is.
You would just be disappointed in it.
Oh, I know.
I spent a ton of money on one, and nothing. And then they finally did that one software release where they actually added multitasking stuff, and I was like, all right, here we go. And it was like, nope. It's pointless.
If they would just add proper mouse support, which I don't.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe now that Ives is gone, they will. They'll
do something dumb though, and they won't put an actual mouse pointer. It'd be was it the old Mac that used the hand glove thing?
Really like a Mickey Mouse hand, like a little hamburger helper hand. Like Alex Rodriguez knocking down the ball in that Red Sox playoff game, like that little.
Yes, that is what they would put in. I mean, they put in a solar eclipse blob, so that was.
Yes, right. Actually, I guess the little pinwheel. What do you call that thing with the rainbow pinwheel thing? Yeah, the beach ball.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
The little hand could smack it around. And speaking of hands smacking things around, Cortana got smacked to the App Store. Finally, which that makes sense. Like, why
yeah, people will be surprised to discover I have a rather negative take on this as well. Because the story is, right, it's like, oh, no, now they can update it more often, right? It's not stuck in part of the OS, But here's the thing. You can't really point to a Windows 10 release where you're like, damn, they added a lot of really cool stuff to Cortana. Like, say what you will about the old Microsoft Edge, but that thing was updated in a major way with every version of Windows 10 until the last one when they knew it was dead. That never really happened with Cortana. I don't mean to say there weren't updates. I mean, of course they were, but
sure.
I actually think, this is just a multi-step process of walking away from Cortana. We're going to wake up one day 6 months later and be like, they haven't really updated that thing in a while, have they? And first you separate it from search, you leave it on the taskbar. Next it'll be gone from the taskbar because you can get it from the store if you want it, and it's just eventually going to be not a thing anyone's going to get.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's there. It's now. I guess can you uninstall
Cortana today?
Not yet. Today, I don't think you can.
No, but
you will be
can
able to
effectively disable it. I mean, it's you remove it. You can still have Windows search without having Cortana, which I think was what a lot of people were looking for.
Yeah, but this sets it up so that you can easily and effectively replace Cortana with a different app.
Well, so I had asked this question some years ago. Windows 10, you go into settings, apps, and there's a default apps interface, and it has things for photos, movies, web browsers, mail. I don't remember the whole list. Why isn't there one in there for assistance? And the reason is like that's one of those things like where Windows is only kind of open. Like you can actually do that in Android. If you want to switch your assistant out, you can do it. I think that should happen. I think that should be a thing in Windows.
It probably should be.
Or I don't know, maybe just removing it is all that really needs to happen because honestly, most people don't really need an assistant on a PC.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick before we get into the fiscal year finale, because I just really wanted to say that quick message from Microsoft 365. As we all know, we've been talking about it for a couple days now. Windows and Office January 2020 are going to start to become, they're going to exit support. Now, that doesn't mean that all these products just turn off. It just means you need to start thinking about shifting to Windows 10, to Office 365, because at that time, you're going to be out of support, which means you're not going to get security updates. You could be exposed to viruses and all that good stuff. And everybody needs to be considerate of this because it's not just impacting consumers, small businesses, medium businesses, enterprises, everybody needs to start thinking about shifting to Windows 10 and Office 365. It's going to help you simplify your IT. It's going to help make your office run just a little bit better. You're going to find a lot more information down at the links below, including migration links, resources, all that stuff to help get you off of Windows 7 because you don't want to be up against the deadline. Get your migration started today and be a happy camper later this year. Unlike Paul, who is a happy camper today, isn't he? Because it's Friday.
I just, I'm kind of getting into a weird place where I feel like I've complimented you one too many times. But
you need a moment.
But I have to tell you, I really enjoy the title you gave to this episode.
Thank you.
That was good.
Yeah. If you haven't checked it out, it's I've Got Questions. It's without the apostrophe. It's good.
No, it's good.
All right, Paul. Fiscal year end. This is the last business day for Microsoft, the last business day. You got any predictions or just thoughts about what FY 2020 should be? A good crystal clear vision for those people who haven't visited an optometrist in a while. 2020 vision's pretty good.
I don't really see anything major on the horizon, right? I mean, I think some of the trends that have been in place for a long time continue, and the push to the cloud obviously continues. I feel like the things that I care about, and probably a lot of the people listening to this podcast care about, are not top of mind for Microsoft at the upper level.
Yeah.
You know, where there's sort of a begrudging respect for Windows because it just doesn't seem to go away and it's still making a lot of money, but there's not really any kind of an effort at making that anything special. You know, Gabe All leaving Windows to me is emblematic, I think, of this problem. Not because I know of anything like there was anything internally, but I mean, you know, that guy, like I had said when that happened, had been around for 2 decades or more at Microsoft, had been working on Windows for much of that time in the engineering side of the house. I had no idea who he was for most of that time. And as that switches over to the Azure side of the house, to Jason Zander and so forth, I think it just became less interesting. And I worry, you know, about that kind of thing.
I agree. I had heard from just people inside of Microsoft that after Terry left, Windows just kind of feels lost, if you will, because
because it's not a thing.
It's not. Well, you look at it's not a thing. It's not all the way at the top. It's not on the senior leadership team. It's just another subcomponent. They didn't talk about it at build in any more than a small, short breath. And despite the fact that there's going to be over 1 billion users of the platform next year, Microsoft isn't really like cheerleading this.
Can you imagine? I mean,
platform.
Seriously, you're right. So that milestone's going to come.
Yeah.
And Terry's not going to get that moment that he deserved. But there's no one really there, you know? And I think, you know, I know names of people and positions and things, but I mean, really, this is just, it's weird to me that Windows has been subsumed.
Yeah, I agree.
And it really is still one of Microsoft's biggest businesses. It's a weird thing to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still having trouble with this. So
I think they overcorrected, right? It's perfectly fine to make the announcement and assumption that Windows is not the future of the business. That is perfectly fine, clear, and coherent. But then they didn't just say that. They went and said, Windows, we're just gonna push you down a little bit and not bring you up to the dinner table with the rest of us while we're having Thanksgiving. I think that was the one that was too far.
This doesn't really address your question about fiscal 2020 in the slightest, but since we've gone down this kind of rabbit hole, there's a weirdness to Windows now too, where there's like this kind of enthusiast movement around the Insider program that has nothing to do. I mean, like absolutely nothing. As much as I like to be a part of it, and I like that, you know, I am that person myself. You know, I mean, the future Windows should be dictated by the people that are really using it the most, which are businesses, and I bet that their interaction with the business version of the Insider program is very slight. You know, and so you've got this kind of directionless kind of thing going on where. Obviously, Windows pushed in maybe the wrong direction for businesses for a few years there because of the Insider program. And now it's kind of just, it's like a spaceship that's run out of fuel. It's just drifting through space, you know. I feel weird about that. So I don't see that changing. I mean, there'll be that one day where they pretend it matters again when they hit 1 billion, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then the rest of the business, I mean, as far as, again, like the stuff I care about, I mean, Office 365 is going gangbusters. Microsoft 365, gangbusters. Um, there's a whole, I don't know what you call it. It's like the mobile app experiences that, and like that stuff, like a lot of their apps are used by like millions and millions of people. Like they're really popular. I don't know, like, is there a business case to be made to push that harder, to do more of that kind of thing? I don't know. We know there's going to be an Xbox. Actually, that's not going to happen in the next fiscal year. So there'll be another Xbox console, but that will be in 2021, real fiscal 2021. There will be Xbox project. I just lost the name of it. The X Cloud. X Cloud.
Yeah.
Why does that sound weird as I say that?
It's X Cloud.
Project X Cloud. Yeah.
Yeah.
That will happen, right? That's not going to be a significant or any driver of revenue, but it's going to be exciting for people like us who care about it. I don't know. There'll be new Surface devices. Absolutely. I don't know. I hope there's a surprise. By the way, I think the one big question is on the Windows side, and I think that we need to have an answer to this, is what happens now post UWP, right? They've brought back programming frameworks from the past and open source them like WinForms and WPF, but okay. But I mean, like we're going to dust off our 15-year-old programming books and figure out how to write apps in this other thing that we thought was dead. I mean, is there more? I mean, are web apps the future? Is there a Xamarin cross-platform thing that I don't know about? Does Dart program or Flutter programming is coming to the desktop? I mean, will Microsoft embrace something that's a third-party environment? I don't know. I think that's the one thing. Well, that in 19H2, I guess. But the one outstanding thing that I think needs to be addressed, and I feel weird that Build came and went without them addressing it, is what happens next.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's clear that they're making some additional changes to at least how they're servicing Windows, right? We don't know what's going on with 19H2, which is the first time that Microsoft's been pretty much in the dark about an update that's supposed to launch in 2 months, 3 months?
But let me throw an idea by you that a reader threw by me this morning in Ask Paul, which is, what if? So I've offered up the notion that 19H2 might literally be what Mary Jo's been calling for, and others have been calling for, like a service pack or R2 type release of 1903. Add in all the cumulative updates, add in all the app updates, and ship this thing, right? Or it could be that plus some of the 20H1 features they've been testing that are ready, that don't have dependencies on other stuff that might be in 20H1. It's still kind of a minor release. But a reader asked, what if this thing is just 1903 plus Microsoft Edge? Like, what if that was it? What, do you think that Edge could be in a good enough shape by, let's say, September to pack that thing in and call it a product? And that's actually not far-fetched.
I don't think it's crazy. I had initially heard, and this was like right around the time they announced the new Edge, was that the goal was to be done by December, like shipping and have a full product done. The only thing that makes me hesitant about saying that maybe it will be done by then, and it very well could be because they're moving at a quick rate, is that, Paul, we both know that the month of July sort of doesn't exist at Microsoft. Like half the company is on vacation in one form or another. And,
but we'll know if that happens because Edge literally is updated every day right now. So I guess if that stops, there's your indication. I also don't, if it's not hard to look up what the release schedule is for Chromium and for Chrome and sort of figure out where they would have to align themselves and whether that makes any sense for some September type release, right? If that is even possible. By the way, I would just point out that there are very basic things still missing in Edge, including sync, right, of everything except for bookmarks, favorites, as we still call them in the Microsoft world. I mean, I'm just saying, I had never considered that possibility, and like you, I think it sounds plausible. I don't know if that's what it is, obviously, but
it's not a bad. I mean, it's really not a bad thought that is it.
Yeah,
they could do. I mean, let's expand upon that. They could do that. And then they could do the Cortana thing with Cortana. It'd almost be like the feature update that removes features, right? Because they would remove old Edge. They would remove Cortana. And then they would, yeah, yep, like the unupdate.
Honestly, I mean, I don't mean this to sound sarcastic. I don't mean it sarcastically, but that's the kind of Windows that I could kind of wrap my head around. Like, I actually like
Sure.
that. I think a more minimalist approach is needed. I think a lot of the junk that they threw into Windows over the past 3 or 4 years, the 3D stuff and all that, it's just nonsense. It doesn't benefit a lot of people, and that making that stuff available for the people who do want it is easy. You can put it in the store. I don't know if you saw my tweet the other day, but there's a suggested part of the all apps list in the start menu, and it's on by default. And usually, what it recommends is some app in the store you might want to go get, whatever it is. And let me see if it's there today. No, it's not there now. But the other day, I took a screenshot of this. It was an ad for the mobile version of Outlook, and I was like, "That's weird." So I clicked on it, and it was for literally the iOS and Android version. That's what they were suggesting, an app for another operating system.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
They need to bring back MinWin, but just for UI components and add-ons.
Yes.
Like, give me the option to install Windows with just nothing, like no built-in apps, nothing. None.
Yeah.
Zero.
Windows NT at one point had something called the Shell Update release, and it was like it was like the Windows 95 UI, but for Windows 3 NT 3.51 or something like that. And it was like basically like, if you want to see, if you want to play with this stuff, here it is. But if you don't, you've got this workstation OS over here that just works. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, Paul, you know what today marks?
Let's see, where would Brad go with this? This is the second straight week in a row that we've done.
As Isabella Tufel points out, says, congratulations, Paul and Brad, on your 10-day streak of podcasting, which will probably end next week. I guess it depends on what your thoughts and feelings are about holidays, because there's...
Oh, we're not doing it on the 4th of July.
No,
but actually, I think we get a pass on that. Oh, you mean for the day after?
Yeah, the 5th.
No, I think we're not doing it next Friday.
Yeah,
I've got people coming in to town to visit and stuff, and I think we're gonna play hooky that day. But I don't think it's a problem if it's scheduled.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't. Someone's gonna have to give us an official ruling. Maybe Isabella, who's been keeping track of this, you can let us know if that
right
if that ruins our streak. But yeah, you got anything else for today, Mr. Paul?
Do I? No, I still got a bunch of hardware stuff to write up. I'll have more programming Windows stuff over the weekend at the latest. Ask Paul's done. I just haven't published it. I got to find a picture for it. No, that's about it. What about you?
Well, it's officially fully summer. It is supposed to be 90 freedom units outside, about probably, I don't know, 32 communist units, something like that.
Nice. Yeah, we've had a couple of 90-degree days already. It's nice.
Yeah, let me see. Did I do that right? I was ballparking it there. Yeah, that's about 90 degrees. That's exactly right.
Is what, 30? 30 or 28?
32 is 90.
28 is 82, right?
Yep. So I was just kind of jumping up a little there, and it's about right.
Yeah.
The one thing I really want to do, which is not apropos to anybody, but who cares? So we have outdoor lights on our house. They're old lights. They're like kind of like security floodlights when they're mounted on the soffit underneath. So what I want to do is pull those out and replace them with outdoor outlets.
Outlets.
Yeah, because I have soon to be 3 Nest security cameras. And what I want to do is be able to plug them into that, then wrap the cord around like the plastic box or metal box thing, and then mount them there, and then have an open outlet for whenever I buy Hue outdoor lights that would replace that, because
Yep. Did you hear, by the way, that the latest version of the Hue lights have Bluetooth built in and don't require a hub?
And I can't think of anything worse in my life than trying to connect to a Bluetooth device being 30 feet away from it.
It's a good point. Well, maybe it works like, actually, I think Hue works today is it almost creates, it's a network of its own, isn't it? Like, where
yeah,
it
I'm
kind
not
of
quite,
goes.
I didn't read enough. Like, I thought it would make more sense if those things connected directly to Wi-Fi rather than Bluetooth. I know people
Right.
don't like the hub stuff, but I will tell you that it works. Like that's why I keep buying Hue stuff, is it keeps working.
Yep.
So
Oh, I don't think the new ones won't work with the hub. I mean, but for those people who
don't
maybe
want to
it's
buy
for
a hub.
yeah, this is an alternate way to do
I
it.
guess maybe it would make sense. I don't even know. Like maybe you had an auxiliary like shed or something that you'd always be near when you wanted it to turn. I don't know. I don't trust Bluetooth enough to just automatically.
Bluetooth is terrible. Yeah,
to automatically connect as you're walking throughout the house and all that.
Yeah.
So
no, it's like when they added Bluetooth to the Xbox controller. It's like, yeah, it works, but honestly, if you're going to play on a PC, just connect the cable,
right,
or get one of those Xbox adapters because that protocol works much better.
Yep, fully agree. And yeah. Everybody else, today's show is brought to you by Microsoft 365, talking about shifting to a modern solution, including Windows 10 and Office 365 Pro Plus. You can find out migration resources and all that good stuff in the links below. To everybody else, have yourselves a wonderful weekend, a good end of the fiscal year, and we'll catch you right back here next time.
Okay.
Yeah, I got nothing. Wait for
I literally fell asleep on the couch right before the show. My wife came in and she's like, "Don't you have a podcast?"
So my wife actually asked me, she's like, "Is the reason why you don't like talking to me on Fridays is because you do a bunch of podcasts?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's the reason."
You should have just held up a piece of paper that said yes.
Or texted her, be like, "Yep, that's the thing that does it." So
yeah.
All right.
Our poor wives. All right.
Yep. Yeah, poor wives. Enjoy your weekend. Later.
Yep. You too. Bye.